a.m. and we are recording. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We've got a small group this morning. We've got 5 of you. Thanks for joining in. We've heard from Nola and Helen with respect to their exercise yesterday and some of the experiences that came up for them. Does anybody else want to share anything that came up as they were writing out their money memoir? No? Okay, quiet group. All right. So there's a couple things that I just want to share with you that Nola brought up this morning and Helen. And I don't know what your experiences were like, Johnny and Dana, when you were writing this out. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to go back and start remembering all of these things. What I would recommend too is that when you go to sleep tonight, if there were any challenges bringing up some of these memories, when you go to sleep tonight, just ask your subconscious to actually start pulling them out, start recalling the memories, and then just make sure that you have a journal beside your bed in the morning and see what comes up for you. And it might not be the actual memory itself, but it might be a story or a dream that reflects the feeling that you felt when you were growing up as it pertains to money. So the important thing when you're writing out the memoir, and if you didn't finish it, I would encourage you to go through this process. But what's really important when you're writing it out is I don't want you to overthink it. I don't want you to be looking for these nuggets. I just want you to free flow write, right? Like just put it all down. Now, Nola was mentioning that she was having a hard time recalling money-specific situations. And that's a valuable lesson for me. Thanks, Nola, because I should add this here into the exercise. If you can't recall money, I want you to see what you can start to pull up with respect to just the living situation in general, or relationships. So were you moving around a lot or were you stable? Did you move from one country to the other? Why was that? Was there lots of conversation or was there very limited conversation? Why was that? Right? Because what is happening is that our relationship with money mirrors the relationship that we have with others, mirrors the relationship that we have with ourselves. So if we're having a hard time figuring out exactly what was happening with money, then you just need to look at relationships and you need to look at the situation in which you were living in, because that might certainly help you to pull up some more memories. Now, once you get all the memories down, and I don't know if everybody got their full memoir down, but once you get your full memoir down, what you do next, because when you're writing it, remember, you're not going to be overthinking it. And sorry, I'm just going to pull my screen down here. The next thing you do is you go through the memoir and you actually are going to take 3 highlighters, and whatever colors you want to use, it is up to you. This isn't a great example because it was black and white, and I should change that. But you are going to go through your memoir and you are going to highlight all of your patterns or habits. So all of the things that you did or your family did. So if it wasn't you and it was your family, and there's still actions, I need you to highlight them, because what you might be doing is you might be duplicating what your family used to do, right? Moving around a lot, or tapping into savings, or using a lot of the same language of, we don't have enough. If you look at your language right now and what you say to your spouse or what you say to your kids with respect to money, right? We don't have enough, or we can't afford that, or let's save it, or there's abundance and we have no problem with money. More money will just come in, or I see this a lot with some of my women friends. We won't tell dad, right? So it's interesting because when you start to look at the language that you use, you're probably like, oh, my mom used to say that, or that's what my dad did, right? So it's some of the things that you're saying today that you might think of, oh, let me take that back to what happened when I was younger. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that highlighter, let's say pink is what you did, And you're going to just go through your memoir, and you're going to start to highlight all of the actions that were taken between either you or what your family was doing. And actually, you know, it's important with this too. For those of you who have siblings, you'll want to start exploring some of the things that they did as well. Because if you have older siblings and they were important role models to you, you could have been learning from them. Excuse me. The other thing that I see come up quite oftentimes is that siblings, brothers and sisters, they get the same programming because you're immersed in the same environment. It's just that we either interpret the data differently or create a different program around it. So, you know, in a situation with a client where she had a sister and they came from an environment that was extremely scarce, loving family, 2 wartime parents that came over from Italy, now living in Canada, but very, very little money, but family always came first. And they had these amazing family dinners with lots of pasta, but there was no money for gifts. And it was always talked about that there's no money. So one sister, my client, continues to overspend. She makes close to $190,000 a year, but she has $750,000 of consumer debt. So she has recreated that environment of scarcity because she overspends. Her sister, on the other hand, hoards. So she grabs everything and she keeps it and she retains it because she's worried that she's going to lose it all. So cars and in the house and everything's just stacked up. So it's the exact same situation, just the programming got altered in terms of their response to it, right? So it's interesting to see what your siblings do, because that's going to give you some indication as to, oh, okay, I get this now. So just write it down. Just write it down. Highlight all the actions in pink or whatever color you choose to use. Then you're going to go through it again. I'm going to recommend that you go through your memoir 3 times, because if you're trying to do this all at once, you're going to miss a couple things. So go through the memoir again, and then using a different highlighter, you're going to highlight all the things you felt: angry, frustrated, scarce, fearful, terror, happy, joy, right? So if you went on a holiday and you were feeling great joy, or you were feeling, you know, proud of something, I want you to highlight those things as well, because those things are probably duplicating now as an adult. Like, when do you feel pride? When do you feel terror? When do you feel loss, right? Put all of those things down. And then third round, different color, you're going to start to highlight all of the language. So what were all the things that were being said as early as you can recall? Was there a lot of conversation around love and acceptance and joy? Or was it more conversations about not having enough time to get everything done, or feeling irritated? Sorry, that's a feeling, right? That's not a word. What were some of the examples here? I am wrong, not wanted, I burn through money. Oftentimes it's interesting with language, language is a huge indicator for us too, as some of the inherited programming that we may have received. So in this memoir today, your exercise, if you got it all written out yesterday, your exercise today is to go through it with those 3 markers, and I want you to highlight, please, again, the things that you did, your patterns and habits, the things that you felt, your feeling and energy, and the things that you said, your words and language. And it's after today that hopefully you will see some of the programming that came from the developmental side. Does that make sense for everybody? I think so. We've got pretty close to a full house right now. A couple more people joined. With that being said, does anybody want to weigh in again on, we've got some new members. Anybody want to talk about the experience of writing out the memoir? What challenges, or if I can lend any coaching advice right now, if you're looking to get some support and try to dive in or figure some stuff out, this is your chance. Oh, sorry, I see something here. Thanks, Johnny. It's to everybody, so I hope this is okay if I think it's okay if I read it out. To be quite honest, it was an emotional experience. My parents have been divorced since I was 1 or 2. Lots of challenges with that, and living in 2 households with 2 separate rules of living. Never mind having an abusive stepmom. Kinds of tough to, yeah. Oh, Johnny, thank you for that. It is, it's, I was telling Nola that I too had a thunderbolt morning this morning. And as I was writing it out, I had tears pouring from my eyes, like just blah. But it's when you're hitting the emotions, know that that is so, 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 so valuable, because that's actually your subconscious saying that you're hitting on the crap that you need to get out of your head. So it's actually a gift. As painful as that is to go through, you need to get it out. So having the courage, Johnny, to go through that and to sit in that and walk through it is so, so powerful. And I so appreciate you sharing that this morning, because a lot of people, they armor up against this. And we armor up because our brain, our primitive brain specifically, is designed to armor up because that's what keeps us in survival mode. If we don't feel pain, then we survive. And so our brain is hardwired to actually keep us from feeling these things. But once we feel them and we go through them, we let them go. We're actually starting the reprogramming process. So that took a lot of courage, Johnny, to go through it and to share it this morning. And I'm so grateful that you did. That's great work. Keep going with it. So Mel, thank you to everyone. You may have to redo yours. I was detached and logical, and I did it from point form. I didn't go into feeling at all. You know what? And that's okay. You started. So remember, it's about compassion for yourself. As a staunch pragmatic myself who loves bullet points, right? Oftentimes, a lot of us warriors, when we had challenges growing up and when we were in a safe environment, we armor up even more. So anytime you're seeing yourself, and I know, Helen, you talked a little bit about this morning. I said, okay, well, I'm just going to do it myself. That's your warrior coming in. Your warrior creates some amazing things, but you need to ask yourself, why did I warrior up? Why am I deflecting, or why am I protecting myself, right, in these situations? So yeah, Mel, now you can go through your point form, which is great. And if you need any help, let me know. But go through your points and to go, well, what was the feeling out of all of that? Or why did that happen? Or what was mom feeling? Or what was dad feeling? And then the siblings. Because, yeah, you definitely want to capture the emotions that you were going through, because the emotions, if you remember the mindset presentation that I did, the emotions that you are feeling is what is creating the environment within your body, which is what is programming your cells, right? So words lead to emotion. When you hear words, words lead to emotion. When you see things, things leads to emotion. And those things and words, or sights and words, are creating the emotions in which your cells are in, which is leading to their programming. So we definitely need to go back and understand what we were feeling with those point forms so we can start to understand the programming specifically. I hope that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that, Mel. That takes a lot of courage too, to admit that you were armoring up and choosing not to get into that space. And that's just your primitive brain protecting yourself, and that's a-okay. All right, anyone else have anything to share? Leave it open here for another minute or so. Is there any other learnings that anyone kind of came through with today or yesterday? You know, I was mentioning this morning too, just as a closing thought here, if nothing else comes in through the chat line, that the difference between the coach and the consultant is that the coach is giving you tools that you can apply afterwards, later on in life. And it's important for you to know that this money memoir that you're writing today, you are probably going to be going back to this and adding to it constantly. The difference between being a human being and a spiritual being is that as a human, we have a brain, and that brain has programming. So, you know, after these 21 days, you won't have arrived and you'll have everything figured out in life and everything's going to line up. I was saying to Nola, you know, my first thing that I really needed to figure out was earning and my sense of worthiness. Why did I feel like I wasn't deserving of? Why did I keep putting myself in situations where everyone came before me? So I believe I've got a big chunk of that figured out. But then this week, you know, I was reminded by several friends and my daughters that I'm actually very cheap, that I don't spend, and everything, you know, it's like, why don't you spend on this? Why don't you spend on that? And there was this idea, and it fell in line with this conversation about Remembrance Day and just all of the grief and emotions around loss. And it dawned on me this morning in my thunderbolt moment where I had tears running down my eyes. See, and I'm still getting emotional about it. It's that this thought of, I'm just always going to run out. Things are going to run out, right? So money's going to run out. Love's going to run out. People are going to run out. Time's going to run out. And guess what I create over and over and over again? Just that, right? My ex leaves, run out, savings, right? I always run out of time, especially this month. I'm always late. I don't have enough time to get everything done. So this morning I had to sit in this and I had to go, where is this coming from? So this process that you did yesterday of writing this shit out and getting it out of your head, you are going to go through this over and over and over again. Because then, you know, it took me, well, I guess from Remembrance Day to today to finally nail it, to go, that's what it is. It's things are going to run out. So you just go through this process again. That's all you do. You go through it. What am I feeling? Where did it come from? Let it go. And if I don't want things to run out, oh, I want them to stay. I want them to be forever present. I want to feel safe. And things will always be there, right? So it's the exact same process that you're going to use, hopefully, throughout the rest of your life. So you don't need to nail it, this go. You just need to give it a try, and you just need to find one thing that we can start to alter. One feeling, one destructive habit or pattern that we can start to shift. Because you're going to spend the rest of your life working on this, and it's going to be fun, right? So pick the one that is most destructive to you right now. You find it. Let's find it before the end of the week, because we're going to reframe it for sure. Okay, so I see no other chats, so we'll leave it at that. Again, feel free to text me or put a message in the locker room. If anyone's got the courage to put that in there, I am going to write down my aha moment this morning and make sure that I'm sharing that with everybody as well, so you can kind of see the process that I went through. And yeah, today hopefully we'll get a seed or nugget with respect to your developmental programming, and then tomorrow we get into the inherited. And so have fun with this. Enjoy it. This is about transforming your life. It takes courage to do it, but be proud of yourself while you're going through the process as well. All right, gang. If there is nothing else to come in, we'll close it off. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.